Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and quantum computing. It's something we're talking about because it's being pushed as the next big thing, and there's huge debates on what exactly quantum computing is, what it will be, how it will be commercially applied. But one of the things I'm always pointing out to people is that quantum computing in particular is a great example of this technopoly, of the fact that Google and the US government are 100% in bed together. What do I mean? Well, while on the forefront of the media, we're talking about bias and conservative bias in Google and Silicon Valley and YouTube, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's surface level stuff. What that does is that gives them an excuse to then go and censor not just conservatives, people like myself who might have differing opinions, maybe not even differing opinions. You've seen this new checkmark scandal, for instance. Well, if Google is hiring creators now and they're working with creators, they have another monetary vested interest in pushing them instead of their competition. So they'll be promoted less and less and less. But again, that's surface level stuff. Because while we have that debate, while we talk about Eric Schmidt behind me meeting with China and trying to develop, for instance, a censored internet called Dragonfly with them, and all that in the chat-coms, right? What's really going on behind the scenes? Well, Google works hand in hand with NASA. And by the way, Goldman Sachs is an investor. Little Bezos is an investor. No one talks about that. And it's in this quantum realm. And one of the big things they talk about in quantum computing is bringing artificial intelligence into play. Now, before I even get into this latest story of, it's really interesting because Google basically claimed quantum supremacy, and we're going to get into what that really means, if it means anything, and then put out a paper. Fortune.com picked up the story, and then all of a sudden, Google wouldn't verify anything, right? And then they pulled the paper. Now, this could be a lot of different reasons. They maybe didn't want to give away something in tradecraft by accident. They said they hadn't verified the results. They don't really have a comment on it. We'll get into all that in a moment, but before we get in to this story in particular, I want to make you familiar with D-Wave and the quantum annealing computers that they were using 4, 5, 6 years ago. In fact, on this channel, you can go and watch Google and basically this D-Wave department, Hartmut, man, I always kill this guy's name, but a lot of different people, including the guy behind me, Geordie Rose. Now, I have not watched this June presentation he's given. He's left D-Wave. He's gone to Kindred. And he is full on artificial intelligence, uploading your consciousness kind of guy. Now, in this first video you see from 2015, he talks about basically the multiverse, and later on he describes as an interpretation. We went over that in a previous video earlier this week. I'm just saying that you should probably make yourself somewhat familiar with what they're trying to sell you that this is. Because again, we could talk about conservative bias, we could talk about censorship, et cetera, et cetera. Google is still very in bed at the highest levels of the technopoly with our government's military industrial complex. Because if you don't understand that the first applications, practical ones, of any type of success with quantum computing will be military applications, you don't understand how things work. So let's read some of this. And by the way, I want to point out that the scientist later on down says that, there really wasn't any practical application, because what they're saying that this is doing is it's taking something that supercomputers, a calculation supercomputers would take 10,000 years to produce, and they're producing that answer in 200 seconds. Now, the other interesting thing is, not only do they say there's no practical use, but this same person, Gil, I forget what their first name is, says also that they will never reign supreme. That supercomputers and traditional computers will always work hand in hand with quantum computing. Okay? But again, what was really interesting is how Google creates world's most powerful supercomputer, NASA accidentally reveals, and then publication vanishes. So why? I hope, listen, if anybody can get their hands on the publication, if it's been uploaded to Scribd or et cetera, I'm sure somebody has it archived somewhere. Please send it my way. I'd like to go check it out. I'd like to see why they took it down. In what may be a huge milestone in computing, Google says it has achieved quantum supremacy and all that. We can argue, Intel is in on this. IBM is in on this. Obviously, we have universities in China and Russia in on this. The claim made in a new scientific paper is the most serious indication yet that the promise of quantum computers, an emerging but unproven type of machine, is becoming reality, including their potential to solve formerly ungraspable mathematical problems. Essentially, Google purports to have pulled off a stunt on a quantum computer that no classical machine, not even the world's most powerful supercomputer, can replicate. Fortune obtained a copy of Google's paper, which was posted to NASA.gov earlier this week before being taken down. Oh, so they do have it right here. I didn't jump in on that. The Financial Times first reported the news. A Google spokesperson declined to confirm the authenticity of the paper and its results. NASA did not respond immediately to requests for comment. Now, you got to ask yourself, why exactly? I mean, especially if it's out there. Is this a publicity stunt? That's the other part of this, okay? So if we go in right here, this is kind of some of the meat of it you need to know. While our processors take about 200 seconds to sample one instance of a quantum circuit 1 million times, a state-of-the-art supercomputer would require approximately 10,000 years to perform the equivalent task, the researchers said. Google's quantum computer, dubbed Sycamore, contained 53 qubits or quantum bits, a measure of the machine's potential power. The team scaled back from a 72-qubit device dubbed Bristlecom it had previously designed. So this jump in qubits is also supposed to be exponential. But again, when you look at like the old D-Wave machine, they're well beyond those numbers. And, some people say, well, that's not really a quantum computer. They're using quantum annealing. So right down here, this is interesting. Gill described the experiment as highly special case laboratory experiment that has no practical applications. He added, quantum computers will never reign supreme over classical computers, but will rather work in concert with them since each have their unique strengths. So, I don't know. I know there's people out there that say quantum computing can't exist. I know that I am personally very skeptical of what they're selling it on. And again, I encourage you to check out this in particular, Geordie Rose. I don't want to get a copyright strike. I know they've taken videos down where you sample that. And I know that I've had to edit past videos when I did them for We Are Change on this matter. So really interesting stuff. I think that personally, this is just another example, once again, of how Google is really still in bed with our government. And NASA has gone well beyond just space, okay? I know there's a bunch of you out there that can't stand NASA. They think every single thing is a lie, that space isn't real. I know those flat earthers are out there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I get it. They're very deceptive. But these are the kind of things that they're actually working on, okay? When you have that black budget that goes on top of a budget that's really almost unaccountable anyway, and you have all these different types of engineers, all you need is a little thing called compartmentalization, and a lot of people have no idea what they're actually working on or what that technology will be used for in the future. With that being said, guys, I am back in action. Got back late last night from the Long Island. I'm going to be doing 3 to 7 videos today. I promise you that. We're going to take Karma for a walk and talk. Obviously, we run the gamut here. We talk about parapolitics. We talk about what's going on in the Gulf. We're probably going to have to do a video on the Ukraine because back when no one was talking about the Hunter Biden scandal, we were over at We Are Change. I must have done that video almost a year ago, at least 8-9 months ago. And now somehow they're going after Trump for talking to the Ukrainian leader. Just madness. Again, not legitimate stuff. They should be more concerned about what's going to happen with Iran if we keep fucking with them. Just my opinion. So hit that like button, share this with other people, and if you can, $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me. That's how I'm keeping this thing going, and I appreciate all your support out there. I'll talk to you soon, and I will see you all on the flip side.